Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sport. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Reconnect, and Building Solid Foundation.
Welcome back to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Talk Show. I am your host, Teresa Lawrence, and as this is my first show, and I want to show you what I've got, I want to share with you my audacious dream that is so crazy that you would never think anything would happen. I live in Daniel, Wyoming. The population of Daniel, Wyoming is 109. In the winter, it snows so much that half those people leave. And so my husband and I, because we watched too many episodes of Mountain Men, and this was our dream, we love it, and we live there. But we don't have to see anyone while we're there, wearing my cowboy boots and my cowboy hat. And I bought a covered wagon, an authentic covered wagon, although they call it a shepherd's wagon. And I turned it into my office. And while I was in there, I was writing poetry, and I connected it to the internet, because the only way we get internet is through Starlink, Elon Musk's Starlink. And I sat there and I said, what can I create? I really like building community. I like being creative. I like helping people. That's where all the creative books and projects come in. And I said, what if I created an imaginary nation, the Covered Wagon Nation? And I said, oh, that sounds really good. And then I said, well, what's really the goal here? What do I want? And I actually saw butterflies, and I saw myself dressed as a butterfly, speaking in front of the UN with parents and children from all over the world, just cheering on the power of creativity and community, and how building a community could actually uplift the world by teaching people the power of vision and dreaming big and going out there and creating something that's never been done. And so on that day, I created a petition on change.org calling for, I said, grant imaginary nation status to the Covered Wagon, Daniel, Wyoming. And so I was seeking, and I am still seeking, 1 million signatures on that petition, and from all over the world. And I imagine that when I get it, which I am going to get, and I hope you all go sign my petition, I am going to formally petition the UN for imaginary nation status. I thought it would be the coolest thing. I would have my imaginary nation. I would be Madam President. I would also be the goodwill ambassador of the nation, and I would travel the world doing goodness. And what happened was, I found myself going to Kenya. And I said, well, I am Madam President, and I am an ambassador, a goodwill ambassador. And I wrote a letter to the Secretary of State of Kenya. And if you guys look up this guy, he's incredible. I mean, like the people they have in government, they are so talented. He actually taught media in the US. He's an absolutely brilliant man. And I never heard back from the Secretary of State of Kenya, but I set the intention that I was going to be a goodwill ambassador for the imaginary nation. Doesn't exist. It's just a goal. It's just a vision. I had no steps planned. I had no idea what would happen in Kenya, but that was my intention. I got off the plane. I spoke in the previous section. I told you guys that it was my first speaking thing, and that it was difficult for me to do what I was doing, but I also have a mission, a goal to help children, and I have to spread the word. I'm helping children, Let's join forces. Let's do something to change the world. And what happened next literally was a miracle. I spoke, I got on the news, I told everybody that I believe that leadership should be taught in schools, not just in Kenya, but all over the world. I do. The reason we should teach leadership is that it teaches people to take ownership of what happens in their lives. That's why the power of story is so amazing. I did my first talk, and then the next day we were invited to meet the Secretary of Education, or he's called the Minister of Education. And this is a true story, because you can't make this stuff up. In Wyoming, the state animal is an imaginary animal. It's called the jackalope. So it's a bunny rabbit with the horns of a deer. And I had a little wooden jackalope. And it is an imaginary animal designated for my imaginary nation. And when we met the Secretary of Education of Kenya, I presented him my children's book, Gloriousness, and I presented him with my first diplomatic gift of the jackalope. And that man smiled and laughed so much, it was so worth going. And it came out of a vision of an audacious goal that will happen because I declared it. And that's my goal. And I'm going to travel the world as an ambassador to my imaginary nation, building community, getting people to teach leadership all over the world, because I believe all children are leaders and they're all experts. They're experts in being themselves, and they have to embrace that. And it was incredible. And as a result of that meeting, so much goodness happened. There are mentorship opportunities that I'm involved with in Kenya. There are so many things that came out of it, and it was all out of a thought. So if you think big, magic happens. That's my message. And I want to thank you all for sharing in my dreams. I hope you all join me every month and join the Fabulous Lifestyle radio show every Sunday at 3 p.m. We are available on all your favorite streaming channels, including Roku TV, Amazon, Fire TV, Android app. Just subscribe to Building Solid Foundations. And we're also available at 1050 AM and 106.5 FM radio. So thank you all for sharing in my dream. I hope you join me each time I'm on, because I'm going to be sharing great stories of leadership and sharing great people that you all need to know about. Thank you.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored